everybody. Cameron Hemphill here, your host for Medical Millionaire. Hey, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to tune into the podcast. Our goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. So if you're thinking about getting into this industry or you're thinking about growing your practice, maybe going from one location to two to 10, whatever your roadmap is, every single one of these episodes, we want to help you take your business and practice to the next level. So, guys, today I have a guest on, and we've had some wonderful conversations offline. She has an incredible background, and this is going to be a really cool interview and conversation, especially going into 2025. If you guys have been tuning in to the recent episodes, I've been like hammering home everything around numbers and KPIs and utilization rates and ROAS and spend. And so, I feel like this is perfect timing to bring her in. So, guys, I have Cori Sue Morris with us today. She is a fractional CMO. So, for those of you that don't know what a fractional CMO is, we will get into that. And she works with an amazing brand out of Texas, the Injection Room. And she just has a phenomenal background for everything that has to do with marketing and really understands like benchmarks and what success looks like and failures. And so, Cori, thank you so much for joining and welcome to the show.
Cameron, I'm so excited to be here. It's been fun to sort of get to know you through this process, and I'm excited to jam on all things marketing for aesthetics practices.
Absolutely. I love it. Let's get into the meat. I mean, we only have you here for a short period of time. I know you're super busy. And, for the audience, like what is a fractional CMO, right? I know that and does a medical aesthetics practice like need a full-time CMO, fractional CMO, head of marketing? Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so fractional, it's part-time, and CMO is a chief marketing officer, and a chief marketing officer in most, big corporates is responsible for revenue along with the, CEO and customer acquisition cost. We're looking at metrics like cost of CAC, cost of customer acquisition, lifetime value, managing budgets and growth for an organization. Sometimes it's a CRO, chief revenue officer. But marketing really takes also into account the creative and the soul of the brand and the business. I think I'm seeing in the last few years a lot of businesses get creative as to their hiring practices, right? We're in the era of the consultant, the hustler, the contractor, and
Yeah.
I think most businesses, the two roles that should be fractional that don't need to be full time is a chief marketing officer and a chief financial officer, right? Like so, and you can get the benefit of fractional is you get somebody with more years of talent and experience, and you don't have to pay for them full time, right? So in New York City, right, a CMO might start at like 300K annual salary, right? But fractional, you're paying that person as a consultant for part of the time. So, and I don't know, I like efficiency, so you can get a lot done in terms of like working with agencies like you all in a couple of days, and then free up that time and budget for other things for the business specifically.
I love it. I completely agree. And I see, fractional CFO very common and also fractional CMO very common as well. And I think like to build on your point, it makes total sense in terms of keeping costs low because when you're starting to build out your, let's call it a C-suite, upper level management, on the executive leadership team, if you will, it salaries can become expensive. You're paying for top tier talent, which is extremely important. And having the ability to bring someone in, let's call it part-time, fractional time, um, is interesting, obviously, to keep costs low, but at the same time, being very much dialed in terms of hitting our benchmarks and making sure we're on track, right? So it's almost like, let's say, like I've hired a fractional CFO historically, and I think they had 10 hours a week with me, something like that. Yeah, and maybe that's common in the fractional world. You would know better than me. Is it like a 10 hour? Would you put it around that or?
I mean, for fractional CFO, for sure, like 10 hours a week. You don't
Okay.
need more than 10 hours a week. You're looking at the dollars in, dollars out, managing like an Excel file and communicating with the CEO. for a marketer, you definitely want them a couple days a week. I don't really do specific hours for like for the injection room because for me, I think it's a lot about like adult like a C-suite executive is not only has the experience, but they have like, the accountability, and you're not acting like an employee, you're acting like an owner, right? Like, because if you're a CMO of Coca-Cola, you're full time, you're getting paid $500,000, maybe $1 million, and you're going all the time, and you have responsibility to the shareholders, right? Like as a fractional CMO, I'm spending part of my time in order, and I'm just focused on efficacy of those hours and frankly like accountability. I feel like it's the most important thing for fractional is like an owner mentality, like not, and it's like not, you're never saying like this isn't my responsibility kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like you need somebody with experience, but you also need somebody that's like accountable and is adult in the room.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's interesting. It's like if someone gives you a task and they're like, "Hey, I need this task done by, Friday," it's probably going to take the person to get the task done by Friday. But if it's like, "Hey, I need this task done in the next 3 hours," they're probably going to get it done in 3 hours, right? It's like
Yeah.
that time slot commitment. And so just to kind of like get a little deeper for the audience, guys, like you don't necessarily have to go hire somebody full time and, take on that cost that's going to impact your bottom line where you could go fractional and get like upper tier crazy talent. I mean, Corie has a big background when it comes to, really high level marketing. And guys, I'm talking, very different from hiring your social media person or hiring an agency or hiring, somebody that's going to help run some paid search campaigns for you or something that's internal. This is not like website related. This is not bringing somebody that's in your practice all the time that's going to help capture content, for social media. This is somebody that's going to hold the business accountable and let's call it an agency accountable that can come in for a fractional period of time, look at the numbers and say, this is working, this is not working, kill that, or let's put more spend on this because it's giving you the right return on cap, right?
Yeah.
Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, I think when you think about marketing and then like thinking about what a marketer does, like when you're doing 360 marketing, you have to be analytical, right? You have to be able to look at the spreadsheets and the numbers and say, you know, revenue, CAC, LTV, ROAS, like, and a lot of those, performance marketing numbers are daunting to people that have say only worked on the brand and creative side. So a really strong marketer needs to be ruthlessly analytical and like comfortable talking to CEOs and CFOs. They need to also be creative and understand how to build a brand that's going to, drive performance marketing, but also, brands are like people. They need to have a relationship with your client and your customer and build trust. And then the third piece is like the organizational people skills to like come in and build trust with an executive team and the team across the board, right? As part of it, it's that like EQ emotional piece to, build the trust and confidence. And then frankly, the experience to be able to
Yeah.
say to a CEO and a business owner, like, this isn't working. We need to cut the budget here, or we need to increase the budget by $10,000, and have that experience to be able to like not frankly get like too much pushback, right? So and that's definitely not something that like a social media manager can do promoted within an aesthetics med spa practice. And so when you think about hiring for a fractional CMO for your aesthetics practice, you would want to, ask them the scale of the budgets that they've managed and what they've done with those budgets, right? Like, and that's often how you hire CMOs just across the industry, right? If you've managed budgets and revenue up to $1 million, up to five, up to 10, and so on, right? Like nobody's hiring me as a CMO of Coca-Cola, back to that example, because I focus on small and medium sized businesses, right? And a lot of experience in that space. So what kind of budgets have they managed? What size teams have they managed? Have they gone through things like rebrands and organizational change, and how they manage that? So really, again, back to that like analytical people, and then can they really think about the soul and heart of a brand?
That's a really good point. A really good point. And I think like so many times I see emotion get in the way when it really needs to be around analytical data points, right? And so like guys, for the listeners out there, I think that sometimes you can look at let's call it your website or your social media page, and you may, have obviously there's an emotional attachment. I totally get it. But at the same time, we need to really peel back the layers and say, hey, what is working and what's not working and why? And start to look through the lens from data versus like, I don't like that image, right? Okay, well, if you don't like that image that's on the website or your social or whatever it is, test it, right? Test it and see if people are actually clicking there, like what the click through rate is, what the conversion rate is. Because what's interesting is I've done a lot of A/B testing in my world of being in marketing for many years. Me not liking an image is me having an emotional impact to that image, but the other viewers, we've ran them. I'm like, wow, that would perform better than I thought it would. I actually thought this ad would perform way better. It's very
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the emotions, I think that's the next phase of like personal growth, right? There's so much emotion that comes into being a small and medium sized business owner, like a lot of these aesthetic practices. There's so much emotion in the workplace these days. People bring their whole selves to work and they care about their work for, like, as an example with these injectors, like it's their personal brand, it's their business, like their own micro businesses within these practices. And also with marketing, what's so hard is that everybody has an opinion, right? Like everybody thinks they know social media because they're on social media, and that's not always the case. But yeah, I think for it's having that experience to balance like brand values, right? Like for me, the way you take emotion out of it is you have systems and processes. And so, we have a brand book and guidelines for for the ad creative. And then you're just like, well, it's about performance. It's about the A/B test, right? And I see that all of the time. Like I was previously for an allergy care company, and there was this like we tried all different like people with allergies in the ads, and there was this just like jar of the allergy product that performed the best over and over
Crazy.
and over again. And it was just a silly, like, GIF of a jar. Transparently, it was like a phallic looking jar. And so it's like that's the hypothesis that we had, that it was just like, this jar that was shaped in a certain way. And it beat out every single, like, creative agency ad creative that we had. And sometimes that's just the
Wow.
way the algorithm works.
That's, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I've seen the same thing where it's like you can run a campaign that's maybe like high res, video based, looks engaging, and you may really like that video. And then another ad campaign could be graphic based, maybe kind of boring, who knows? And you're like, well, this one's definitely going to perform better because it's video based. And I always think, obviously, the ads from a video organic, like social conversion rate, have outperformed over the past couple of years static images. But it's interesting. You have to run it and look at the data and then make a decision what the data tells you, because you could be completely wrong based upon emotion.
Yeah. And I think, we obviously we work with Growth 99 for our paid agency. And one of the biggest things is like, it's fun to work at, like, we're talking about all the serious stuff in marketing. It's fun, I think, to do new creative and to test things and move fast. And like, as an in-house marketer, if you're spending on performance marketing, you have to be, whether it's any agency, you have to be resourcing your agency, right? And so it's so naive to think that you can hire an agency and as a business owner and be like, I'm so annoyed I'm paying them X thousands of dollars, and like, what are they doing? And you also expect them to solve everything. Every relationship is two-way, right? So as an in-house marketer, fractional or otherwise, I know that I need to be resourcing that agency to do their best job. So I'm forever like sending new creative to your team, and we're just flipping it back to me really quickly, and we're testing new things. And that part I think is really fun. You get that like dopamine response of like, oh, let's launch the new thing. And then 5 minutes later, there it is. And then, I mean, same thing as well. Like we're onboarding a PR firm, and I was working with one of the internal ops folks, and just really explaining that like we need to resource the PR firm. Like they can, you can only do it. Everything is a two-way street, and you have to provide the resources for them to do the job. So the answer for your agency, ideally, when it's an ask, the answer should be yes, not budget wise. If it's something outside of budget, it's about the numbers. But if agency's like, I want to test this video, yes. If the PR firm's like, I need this thing, yes. Like the answer should be, as long as it falls within budgets, again, aside, but you got to resource your agencies.
Yeah, that's a great point. I agree. I think a lot of times people can, contract with an agency and think that they're, hey, you're the experts. You guys figure it out and just flip on the switch and make it work for me, right? But you have to have those conversations. You have to meet. Ultimately, the content that's being created is inside the medical aesthetics practice,
Right.
right? Like someone on site that's shooting and filming, and so you have to pull that, give it back to the agency, get inside the ad campaigns, what's working, what's not working. So walk us through some of that, Corie, because I know that I've seen other med spas historically have that false narrative that they think that they can sign up with an agency and they can set it and forget it and just hope it works.
I mean, I think like I came to the injection room through, actually they found me through like a marketing hire platform. And they, like we had such a great relationship. We started working together and they have three locations at a really incredible brand. And going through like a little bit of shifts, we did sort of using a brand facelift. We like tighten things up, back to that organizational piece of just having
Yeah.
a brand steward going through, seeing where messaging was out of alignment, updating, the website with you all, scrubbing social media, and really was able, obviously they have such loyal customers and 5 years of incredible narratives and like the testimonials on the Google reviews that are,
Mm.
are incredible. They bring you to tears. I'm so fortunate to be working with something that was like, I didn't get a goose egg. I got like something
Right.
great to start with.
That's so cool.
And yeah. And so the one thing agencies aren't doing is the in-house is like, I'm the steward of the brand. So is that creative aligned? Maybe not, but so let's see. I mean, I think about it with organic, right? TikTok and Instagram, and having a content creator, ideally locally, that understands the aesthetics practice, is excited about the team, right? Like these are often all women's teams. It feels like a sorority, like they need to be a part of the group and feel excited to be there. That's one of the biggest things we look for with hiring with content creation or social media. And you know, up to speed on what the trends are, right? And so, and with social media organic content, we think about, is this content meant to be, there's four buckets. Is it educational? How sculpture is great for your face? Is it entertaining, kind of memes and jokes about like trending audio around Botox and things like that? Is it aspirational? Our injectors are kind of micro celebrities in their own right.
Yeah.
They have these loyal followings, which is such an asset, and these clients that have come to them forever. So education, entertainment, aspiration. There's a fourth pillar with Instagram that slipped my mind, but which categories, and we bucket out the content, like what categories are performing better, as an example, like the entertainment, the funny stuff that I think is so hilarious doesn't actually perform as well as the aspirational and the educational, right? Because people are really coming to our page to learn about the procedures that they want to get with us, or that they have gotten, or so that's actually incredible as a marketer, that we don't have to be like, chasing the trends because people only want the funny stuff, but I was also enjoying the humor and TikTok and
Yeah.
Instagram. But the people are really coming to us as an example for information, and an aspiration, right? They want to
Interesting.
be like the girls, look like the girls, or they want to see what the next treatment we're offering is.
Am I hearing you right that you're saying that those ads that are based around inspiration are performing better for this
That
brand in particular?
this is specific to or organic, right? Thinking about that.
Okay,
So,
got
but and then our our ad creative is a lot of um before and afters, because that's
results driven.
the bread and butter, results driven. And it's also a lot about our injectors, because we are fortunate, like I'm getting hyped up, but we're the fortunate to have the best of the best injectors. Like truly, like it has kind of owned the San Antonio market. There are a lot of copycats out there, which is, different story. And then there is, and expanding to Austin. So, For the ad creative, it's really hyping the results and the person behind those results.
That's amazing. And the only way that we can actually look at that and know what's performing is to look at the metrics, right? So, what are some of the metrics that a fractional CMO would look for? Is it clicks? Is it conversions? Is it return on ad spend? Is it engagement?
And
Um,
my big three kind of top tier looking at big picture for KPIs are revenue, clients, and ROAS. CAC and ROAS, right? So like big picture, like your CMO is like how you're partnering with the executive team. What's our revenue? I'm not worried about profit and margins. That's operations. I'm just like what's the dollars we're bringing in, and what's that what's our percentage of marketing spend to those dollars, and then we think a lot about when working with, and then big picture. I also think between marketing and operations, like the lifetime value and the service value, right? So like we work with the agency a lot. Like everybody loves facial balancing, and it's incredible because you can literally see someone's face go from like, lopsided to like perfectly glow up. It's what
yeah,
performs really well on our ads with Growth 99 because it's just, and it also performs across the board, and it's also a high ticket item, right? So the injectors like it because they're getting more revenue in, the business is getting more revenue in. So I'm thinking about not just like running ads for toxins. That's one of the things we've been optimizing. Like toxins is a lower priced item. It requires a less level of sophistication, right? Like you obviously don't want to go to anybody for toxins. You don't want to trust anybody for your face, but it's less sophisticated than facial balancing. So that's some of the stuff we're thinking about. But back to like nuts and bolts with an agency, how much are you spending? What is your return on ad spend? And then what is your cost per click and CAC? But ultimately, we're running most ads specifically for conversion, and that's dollars in to dollars out. So I'm able to say, okay, we're spending, as an example, say they were spending $10,000, and then for on a campaign, and we've got it's a simple math equation. We get 1,000 customers, that's X, CAC and so forth. So, and you guys have got, our ROAS is insane. Our ROAS is return on ad spend is almost 8X. So, and
geez.
that is, I've never seen anything like it, to be honest, and in a good way. So,
Let me build on that just for a second because that was thank you for saying that. 8x. For if you guys are tuning in, like hold on tight for a sec, okay? Because she mentioned, there's some terms out there she mentioned, right? Cost per click, CAC. That's something I want you guys to start to get very familiar with. It's customer acquisition cost. I call it PAC in this world, patient acquisition cost. Same thing, guys. So if you hear, CAC, PAC, it's the same thing. I just kind of put the spin on it for patient, just for this vertical. Ads for conversion, dollars in and dollar out, right? And then ROAS. When she says ROAS, that's return on ad spend. How much are you spending, and what is your return? And what she's saying is, they've been able to move the needle to get it to an 8x. So if you put a dollar in, you're going to get $8 back, right? And so let's talk about an investment vehicle outside of marketing for a second. Okay, let's just like make this super simple. Corie, I'm going to invest with you because you have some great idea. For an example, just hang with me for a sec. And you're telling me if I give you $1, you're going to give me 8 back. Okay, well, why don't I level up? I'm going to give you 10,000 bucks, so you give me 80 grand back, right? Like if you see that type of return on your ROAS, you're going to want to obviously increase the spend ratio to capture the demand, right? And so an 8x return, like that's huge. I've been saying 7x, so the fact that you said 8x, I'm like, oh my
it's
gosh.
been varying between 7 to 9, which is insane. So I mean, look, ROAS is like marketing terms can be super scary, but like ROAS is I hand Cameron $20, and at a 9x ROAS, he's giving me $180 back, and that is spectacular. I think some things to think about with ROAS though is brand and spend, right? So and for the industry 7x, I worked for brands like we're trying to get 2x ROAS. We're trying to give Cameron $20 and we're trying to get 40 back, which is great. You just, and then there's other, and so it's about spend and brand recognition, right? Because if you're building a brand from the ground up, it's going to take time and you're going to have to spend more on the front end, which is why industries like venture capital exist, right? They take brands like Casper and they throw millions of dollars in them to increase that brand awareness, and the spend, gets more efficient over time. Um, Most small businesses don't have venture capital dollars to spike something like a Casper. So you have to build the brand first. And building that comes from heart of a company, operations stuff, incredible quality, building trust, referrals, all these things that are hard and unfortunately take time to build up a aesthetics practice. But if you're getting to the point where you have consistent revenue, have a strong customer base, are interested in growth, then you start to think about, okay, where are we going to spend on advertising? And digital is the best because you can track it. I hate getting these like print. I studied print journalism as a kid, but like in college, but like you can't track a print ad and nobody picks up these magazines, these regional magazines. I'm sorry. I worked for my first job out of college was a regional magazine. I got laid off because they didn't have any, income, right? Shocker. And that breaks my heart as a journalist. But like when I say advertising, it's digital because you can track it and you can see. And so, yeah, you have to spend. Like you can't put in $10 only to get $100 out. So you need to be putting in enough spend for companies like for your company on platforms like Facebook and Google because you're competing against companies with other budgets. So if you're there and you've got a big pool and you're just putting droplets of water in it, you're not going to saturate it, right? So you need to have enough spend on your performance marketing that it's going to make enough impact that you've at least filled up the kiddie pool and you have enough of an audience. I don't know if the pool analogy works, but you catch my drift. Like you can't get the efficiency of spend if you're not spending. It's like, and that's the hardest thing in marketing is you got to spend money to make money. But you can't be stupid about it. And I feel like part of the issue that set practices have with marketing is that you do have people in there that are brand people that just spend and they don't tie it back, right? So back to that like trust, it's like, you've been in a toxic relationship before, you don't trust anybody anymore.
Yeah, good point. Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, that's what's interesting is I've been in the aesthetics world for shoot 10 years, and I've worked with thousands of practices. And what they've done, like a lot of them have done a really good job. Not all of them, but like quite a few of them have built up a really good organic brand through organic social content and good word of mouth. They do a good job, good great reviews, and they built a brand. I think I don't know, something happens. Like I'm just thinking of a couple practices I've worked with for many years that has a solid patient base, great revenue, probably pretty predictable, has really good retention rates, and they're afraid to spend money on ads. They're afraid to spend money on marketing. And when I look at like their revenue to marketing spend ratio, Cori, it is like completely off. Like it's so off that it kind of worries me. Um, like utilization rates are at 50%, great brand, predictable revenue, profitable business, doesn't want to invest in marketing. And I'm over here thinking like, oh my gosh, like, why are you not investing in your brand? You've done the hard part. Now it's just putting the right spend on it, and you'll boost your utilization rate, which is going to boost your EBITDA, which is ultimately going to boost your valuations if you ever sell. And here's the other kicker too: is if you don't invest correctly, right? So for the listeners that have the brand, the audience, the high retention rate, I know that some of you are tuning in right now. Like this is specifically for you. When you go into 25, guys, like look at your revenue to marketing spend and get that corrected, because here's what's going to happen. These patients, there's demand out there, and these patients are going to go somewhere. They're going to find an ad's going to hit them, or they're going to go on Google. They're going to find a practice. Now, the data shows that if they find that practice, they're going to stay at that practice for 3 years. Like that's the typical life cycle. So, and hey, shoot, if you have a patient that spends 10 grand a year with you, you just missed out on $30,000 and all the referrals that person's going to give you. They're going to go somewhere. And so if you're not capturing the demand, especially for like markets and like, I'm seeing big push in the Southeast right now. My gosh, like demand's there. It's up to you to take it or they're gone for 3 years.
Yeah, I think, look, marketing spend is supposed to be a percentage of revenue, 2 to 10%. It's higher for consumer brands, 5 to 10%. This is not some number that Corie made up. This is a number that,
Yeah,
they teach in business school. It's commonplace for the marketing industry for corporations. So it's kind of like daylight savings time. It's a known thing that you need to spend 2 to 10% of your revenue, not profit, on marketing if you're trying to grow a company. Um, so for business making $500,000, that's, 25,000 a month. And that sounds like a lot, but it's not when it's a percentage of spend and it's spent effectively. Um, but it's scary, right? It's back to the motion of things. When it's your business, it seems scary. But um, to your point, I think like how consumers, if you take it down to the customer, the individual, right? Like if they're totally new, if I'm new to Tampa, Florida, and
hmm
I'm trying to find a aesthetic spa, I'm going to Google it and I'm going to look on reviews. And if they're able to follow me with a Google ad or a Facebook ad, which you can do, and drive me to conversion, that's how I'm going to make that decision, right? I'm like thinking about it. Oh, I need to book Botox. Okay, let me Google. Okay, Sarah's spot looks good. There's some good Google reviews, etc. And then the next time I'm like going to do that action, if I see an ad for Sarah's spot, then I'm going to book, or obviously the referral piece is the other huge one. But and also people make decisions via Google. So Google ads are very smart when you're searching for things. Like then you get a Google ad and then you make that decision. And then the other piece is like customers are accustomed to getting Instagram ads. They know good brands. It's not like a sketchy thing. Like a good ad on Instagram is also going to drive that integrity. So I think the customer is aware on how you make those decisions. So it does seem like
totally.
a huge miss to not be investing, particularly if you're a local brick and mortar. Google ads, like it's just a no brainer.
It's a no-brainer. I think that there's fear around it. Here's what I hear all the time is, oh yeah, we tried it, it didn't work. And then I build on that. I'm like, all right, hold on, let's talk about what you mean by you tried it and it didn't work. Well, I don't know. We hired someone and they kind of did it. I couldn't really tell. And what I'm really ultimately hearing is you actually never gave it a shot. You kind of you dabbled in it for a second, right? It's like, hey, yeah, we tried a billboard for, and I'm not a big fan of billboards, but if you're
Yeah,
if you're gonna like build a brand or do film billboards, you can't put a billboard on the side of the road for a day. You probably got to commit to like a few years for people to see it and recognize it, for a long period of time. But yeah, I hear that all the time in terms of we tried it, it didn't work. Oh, it absolutely works. This is brick and mortar, local, you know, practices, guys, and people are within that area. They're searching near me, right? Like med spa near me. Like they're searching a lot of these keywords, and you have to own that real estate to get those conversions. And then I think like also what you're saying, Corie, is also hitting them with a retargeting campaign.
yeah,
Um, if they
yep,
don't book with you now, like they're going to go pull up their Instagram at some point, probably within the next hour, or
yeah,
right. So
exactly.
and see your ad there.
Yeah, and I think like, um, yeah, ad spend is again, it's scary, it feels weird, but for something so specific as like a brick and mortar with aesthetics, it's like it's how people make decisions, and you're like gonna just get eaten alive by the competitors. And again, we're not talking about like the first month. I think like I love business, right? And marketing is my skill set, but I also like worked in small businesses. I've had my own small businesses, right? Like you need to have the baseline there of, profitability, scaling your operations tight, ideally a fractional CFO that's managing the budget, because people kind of look at like, oh gosh, they go to cut marketing, everything always gets blamed on marketing, right? And it's like, oh, well, you know,
Yeah.
they're paying double for some, you know, thing in operations, or they're like, there's just a lot of areas that you can tighten budget from an operations perspective, but it immediately goes to marketing, which is the outbound piece. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, but that's normal. That's not one specific client. That's the experience of being a marketer, right? People don't understand it, and you have to make the spend to have the growth. But then, when
Yeah.
you cut that budget, you're screwed. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like the last thing. I mean, like, I have conversations, if I told my CMO, hey, I want you to shut off the ads, like he would he would just laugh at me and think I had gone cuckoo, right? Because like they create conversions, which creates revenue, which then creates referrals, which then, ultimately builds the brand and builds the revenue. So yeah, I think I completely agree. Some other things that I was thinking about as well is attribution. In this industry, it's been hard to tie attribution back to ad dollars, because everybody, like, when they click, they want to click on book an appointment. And the breakthrough that's happened in the past few years, or a couple of years, I'll say, has been being able to tie Google Analytics 4 directly into attribution on the booking,
yeah, oh,
and
that's
that's
great. It's,
critical.
it's critical, and it's like also what a dream. That's another thing that is not within the marketing wheelhouse that just upsets me with small and medium sized business is they get screwed over by the tech folks. Like, it's like somebody builds them a website on a platform that they can never use, and it's not accessible, and then you have to pay some guy overseas $50 every time you want to change your website. And so that's often what happens when I have a new marketing client. I come in and I'm like, again, I had my own businesses, not just responsible for marketing, but the whole thing. So I know it's like, no, we're taking that website out of this Yahoo's hands and we're putting it into, we can make changes. We're cutting this tech cost. We're cutting this tech cost. Because no wonder small and medium sized business and practice owners hate external agencies or distrust them, because you've gotten often sold by somebody for your website and for your creative and for your social and also your window washer, and they're all just trying to take a piece of you. And so I get
Yeah.
the resistance. And again, back to my original point, that one of the three pillars is like dollars, creative, and building trust, and you have to have that third piece. So we use Webflow and Boulevard for our tech stack at the injection room specifically. Webflow is great. I can go in and change things. Your team can go in and change things. It's not, and then Boulevard is obviously incredible for aesthetics practices because you can track it all the way through. And that's back to that transparency and that trust. So
I've been huge. Like, I've built a really good relationship with Boulevard over the past year or so, and actually, I have one of their colleagues on our podcast tomorrow. I'm excited to have her on, and it's super important, to have the ability to tie the attribution, guys. So, like, take this, for a nice little nugget for you. Make sure to connect attribution on your booking widget to your agency. And especially if you're going to deploy ad dollars, which I'm obviously, this whole entire talk is to educate you on that. Um, and that way you can actually see the ROI. So if you have that fear factor or that worry of like, I don't know if it's going to work, you have to have the right tech stack. So I'm sure, like, Corie can, lean into that a little bit. Is the last thing she's going to do is raise her hand and say, "Yep, I'm a fractional CMO. Come in, pay me X amount of dollars, and I know the best agency in the world, and we're going to crush it." Right? Like, she's going to analyze the current situation and say, "Nope, this web platform doesn't work. Nope, that EHR doesn't work. Nope, this tool doesn't work because I can't track any of the metrics that's going to show what's working." So, in some cases, she may have to, like, break that down and change systems and have the right tech stack. Then you deploy the marketing so you can actually see what's working, what's not working.
100%. Whether it was the injection room or any client, the first thing I do when I go into a new, project partnership is look at the existing budget and the existing tech stack. And as a marketer, you have to work so closely with tech and with operations. So and then, you listen first, like you do an audit of what's working from a financial perspective. You clean up spend, like what is this random tech thing? Like, Trello, I love Trello, but like we don't need to be paying for the $40 for Trello premium or whatever it is. There's a million of those things because you're trying new things as a small business and you're getting excited, and then somebody forgets to downgrade the tech cost or whatever it is, and that stuff adds up. So I do an audit of the tech stack. I do an audit of the spend. I do an audit of the spend of the miscellaneous technical sign up thingies, and then we talk to operations and see what's working. Who are the rock star injectors, who needs support, things like that, and
Mhm.
then you make sure all the bells and whistles are connected. And that's in any business. That's in an aesthetics practice, but for startups in the tech world, you're also using something like Zapier to really connect everything. Because if you can't see the full customer journey, I'm hesitant to spend, right? That's the 101.
That's the 101. It's crazy. It's like you could talk about this like it's 101. I'm telling you, from the consulting and as long as I've been in the industry, it's not 101. It's wow, this is very technical. This sounds like, maybe it's over my head. It's almost like someone talking to me about, like the anatomy of the human body. Like, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's going to take me a while to kind of understand what the heck you're talking about, but give it to me in layman's terms. It's like, guys, there's EHRs and EMRs and booking widgets out there that have great attribution and ones that don't. And I would take that extremely serious because you can't just say, okay, cool. I listened to the episode and Cam said for 2025 I need to invest in marketing, and so I'm going to do it. Great. I love it. But make sure you have the right tech stack in order to convert the patients and then build up like benchmarks. So you know exactly, okay, this is working, this is not working, kill spend here, apply ad budget there, and then start to really understand like, man, if I could have a conversation with someone in 6 months from when this recording goes out, and they're like, Cam, I listened to the episode, and I'll tell you what, before I had no idea what ROAS was. I learned about it. I implemented it. I had no idea what CAC was. Learned about it, implemented it, and now I could tell you, Cam, what our patient lifetime value is. Like that is gold. And I think going into 2025, I'm trying to encourage practice owners more than ever to get extremely educated on the metrics when it comes to running the practice like a business from data points, guys, instead of really just like I hate to say it again, but like I see a ton of emotion, and
Yeah.
I want to see practice owners just level up as we continue to scale, because what I'm seeing is demand is out there. Patients want to come in, and I know that there's going to be practices that close their doors. I think that's going to increase, and these patients still need to go somewhere. And I think that for the sophisticated group, the ones that have a brand, the ones that have run rate, when you start to really zero in on the numbers and data points going forward, not only are you going to capture the demand, but you're going to know how to drive. And I'm telling you, your practice is going to take off.
Yeah. And I think that then back to the tech piece, like the fear and the thinking we need everything, like, EMRs, etc. But like for a tech stack from like booking through marketing, like blow up whatever your existing tech stack is. You don't need all of that. Literally build a website on Webflow. It's like for $50 a month. Connect it to Boulevard, which is like $200 a month, and then get a strong agency like a Growth 99 that is going to do your paid, and then get a banging content creator for TikTok and Instagram. Like that's the baseline. You need a website that is easy to manage and not $1 million, Webflow, that connects with everything. You need a patient booking system that connects to Webflow and email. Boulevard also, you can send great emails via Boulevard, get so Webflow, Boulevard, and a paid agency and an incredible content creator, and connect it all together. Right, that's like your baseline. So we had this other thing that we needed, and we were running ads on the local Hulu and whatever else. If you don't need any of that, like just start with a really strong baseline, and then the other piece is like get an adult that has had the experience, right? Like I've had to go in and fix technical, like back to that owner mentality. And I come from startups and small businesses, but the startup land has taught me that like I can fix the Zapier integration myself. I can find somebody on Fiverr. I know the questions to ask for these like the business terms around marketing metrics are really scary, and the tech integrations are scary. And the tech integrations should be scary. They're annoying and they break a lot if you don't have a really strong base. But fortunately, these things are getting better. Back to
Yeah.
my Boulevard and Webflow push. They should be giving
Yeah.
me an affiliate fee.
Yes, I'm telling you, shoot, sometimes I feel like a used car salesman for Google and Facebook. It's like, geez, you
Yeah.
guys should be paying me. um,
Yeah, Google and
yeah,
Facebook. Yeah, Webflow,
yeah.
Boulevard, Google, Facebook, a really incredible, like snappy content creator, and then somebody to manage
hmm
it all.
I'm a big fan of WordPress myself, but Webflow, I see it on the rise. I know that you guys have had a ton of success there. And but shoot, WordPress, Webflow, they all tie directly into components that you can easily update and are great for local SEO and capturing that audience and tying it into a booking system that creates a good patient experience, guys. And that's the most important part. So no, all this was really great. So I want to really quick, and I know that we're getting short on time, but you talked a lot about like here's what you need, right? In order, like the tech stack, the content. So when you come in to a practice, if they typically have a content creator or like social media person or something. I'm a big fan of saying bring that in house, film everything, push everything out there. Some of them are doing it, some of them are not. But what like from a team standpoint, right? Like how do you kind of set that team up? Internally? Because I know you're remote, right? Like you're in New York. You don't necessarily have to be on site.
Remote. I do go. I enjoy going on site like once a month or so. Um, but just hold on. I'm
But you
getting
don't
another.
necessarily have to. Like you can run your job from being, anywhere, right? But
Yeah, but you need a really good content creator. Here, let me just switch this. Perfect. I'm simultaneously on Zooms. That's my life. Okay. All right. Um, so I think, yeah, like it's hard. I don't know. I'm like very much an elder millennial, but finding the right content creator is like finding a needle in a haystack, right? There's obviously every 20 something year old female, most of them can like think be on TikTok and Instagram. I think it's about account like with younger folks with any like small business, right? You need reliable folks, whether that's the front desk or TikTok. And I think that can always be a challenge when you're hiring younger people who are newer in their careers. Not to be ageist, but like you need a content creator that's like knows the ins and outs of the business, number one, and they're passionate about the business. They're excited to be there. They love aesthetics. They want to get their lips done, whatever it is. They understand the platforms like TikTok and Instagram are different. There's different trends, etc. Like the filming and the cuts as well. Like I'm not as good as I would like to be with like I just kind of hold the camera up, right? But like a really good content creator, they're like getting different angles and they're zooming in and they're zooming out and they're
yeah.
doing the different cuts that are going to make the videos, whether it's for organic or paid, really, really like snappy and engaging. So our content creators are really, really good at the different angles, particularly with aesthetics. Like you're in the chair and you've got the cheek from that side and the nose from that side and all the different shots. So that is huge.
hmm
That was number three. Know the angles, and then and they're reliable and committed, right? So hiring for small businesses is hard. No hire is ever going to be perfect, but those are the things that we look for. And yeah, the kind
Is
of
there ways
and the
to
metrics piece, you
is
know.
there ways to yeah, I was just kind of thinking like is there ways to compensate them based upon like the amount for me, I'm just totally thinking outside the box. I'm obviously gonna if I'm gonna hire somebody in house, you're on salary or hourly or whatever it is, but I'm big fan of incentivization. And so it's like, hey, the better content you create that converts more patients, the more I'll pay you. I don't know. Do you guys have something like that in place? I'm totally just curious because that's kind of a thought that I had.
We're going through that right now. Marketing again always is the tension between the executives and the contractor. Like we're kind of like, could we structure marketing based on performance, but ultimately with all these creators, like it's a time suck. Like they have to go in there, they have to film, they do the research, etc. I haven't been able to find any creator that is like, oh yeah, I'll do it based on views. They want to be compensated for their time, which is like fine. The rate
Yeah.
at which you compensate for your time, right? You can get a younger person who is excited about the practice to, again, like it's hourly rate based on age and experience, not age, but experience, right? If you're 22, if you're looking for a job, great. Like we
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
a monthly retainer plus trade, I think is the most fair, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you want them in fair for both parties, and you want them in that practice like at least once a week. Um,
I
Twice
love it.
ideally. And then the other big thing is like really making sure that they're like open lines of communication with the office managers to who's going to be, well, would we have consent to film, number one thing, and then from that patient or that create the or the an influencer as an example, and then is it going to be a good like appointment day kind of thing. For example, facial balancing always looks great, so if we can get permission from our happy clients to film facial balancing, that's always a win.
That's huge. Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that. I agree. The experience based upon the age. I like the trade opportunity too. I think that that's very big and a way to keep costs down for the practice owner and also benefit the content creator too. So, well, that's. I appreciate you joining, coming on. Like your level of expertise is just it's truly amazing, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. So here's some takeaways for you guys before we completely shut down is like as you go into 25, look at your revenue to spend ratio, try to get it aligned, because I consistently see practice owners underfunding their marketing. Here's another thing too that's starting to like make me just think about things. Like I go to a lot of conferences and I see a tremendous amount of designer attire, which look, I get it. We're in the aesthetic space. I totally get it. But at the same time, I also think like we're probably overspending um, on instant gratification for personal reasons versus thinking about our business and long-term future for like long-term success and like true wealth. And that's that's one takeaway. Because some people are like, I don't have any money to spend. I don't, it's like, well, how much are you paying yourself? And like maybe we should look at some of the things on just more of a maybe a humbled approach, and try to invest in the business for long term versus short term gratification and kind of delay that is something I would hone in on for 25. And because go back just for a sec, Corie, like a 1 to 8 return on capital when it comes to ROAS is off the charts. And so,
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, right? Like you're funny. You're like you pause on the Gucci bags, get the investment property kind of thing. I love
I
that
totally,
analogy. I mean, I love a
yeah,
Gucci bag, so I can't really like speak to anybody's personal spending.
yeah,
Definitely out, but from a marketing perspective, like if ROAS is your metric, you're not like losing that money. Again, it means return on ad spend. Back to our analogy, I gave Cameron 20, he gave me 180 or he gave me 40. Like even if you're getting a 2x ROAS, that's a great place to start because, and if
great,
you're a newer brand, because you're able to track it if your tech system is correct, like you're able to track it in and out. And I think sometimes there's still like, not this is not with the injection, but I think just generally there's a mistrust of like, the marketing spend. And if you have a tech platform, no one is lying to you. It's like you can literally see dollars in to dollars out when your tech stack is appropriately set up. And so it's not a waste, I think. And then there are marketing things that you invest in that don't directly pay out, right? Like investing in brand and photography, right? There's creative things that are expenditures, and that's part of the gig. But yeah, it's not a waste if you're able to track the metrics correctly.
totally. And I'm gonna let you go. Like, there's one thing I wanted to point out, but we'll have you back on.
I love. I mean, and the
We'll
other
have
thing is
yeah.
you guys are the best agency I've worked with. Like I hated a lot of agencies. I don't hate, but I like, as back to the accountability piece, like even if it's a client, I love the injection room. I don't want them to waste their money at all. Like
Right,
it's
right.
and because I have accountability and ownership and pride in the work that I take, right? And so when I say I hate agencies, hate is a bad word, but it does make you mad if they're wasting your money. So and so that
Totally.
is where that emotion comes from. And finding a good agency is hard. And you guys are really, really good at what you do. And so I can similarly, and imagine there's frustration on your end when you're like, yeah, like eight X ROAS is great, 2X ROAS is great for a new business. And just having, the results are there. So I hear you
Yeah.
on wanting to drive more results for more aesthetics practice. It's a fun industry to be in.
Totally. It is very fast paced. I mean, it's, you're changing people's lives, improving their lives, which is so much fun. And, I think it's important to partner with an agency that understands the industry and the trends and like where things are going and where like to the tech stack standpoint, like that's critical. People that are in the industry have built relationships with the HRs, EMRs. They know how to connect the dots, know how to make it work, bring it all together, can work with the CMO, can work with, the practice owner, I think is critical. So no, I appreciate the shout out and the kind words. And if people want to connect with you, Corey, if they have any questions, if they want to just like I don't know, follow you, like what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, yeah. So if you're in Austin or San Antonio, it's the Injection Room for aesthetics. Highly recommend. And we're the Injection Room on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Cori Sue, CoriSue. And my website is CoriSueMorris.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people. So yeah, it's all my name. And then yeah, if you're looking for a glow up in Texas, I highly recommend the Injection Room. I'd let them do my face, and yeah, we're just only growing thanks to the team there, and so with some help from y'all. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure. And next time I'm in Texas, I'm definitely going to pay you guys a visit and drop in and say hi. So I'll leave it at that, guys. We'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, Corey. You guys know where to follow her and find her. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to reach out. Again, if you found this episode valuable, if you have a colleague or a manager or somebody in your mastermind that could benefit from this conversation, guys, like my only ask is share it, rate it. I want to create these episodes to ultimately just give value. And it's an honor to have expertise on with Corey, and so that's my ask. I'll leave it at that. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Until next time, happy injecting.
Thanks, Cameron.